to the global commodity shocks, global financial crisis, and all of that.
I was privileged to have worked under a governor who believed in the system, who also built up the system, and I'm going to do same.
All right, that's our show today, everyone. Thanks for being a part of it.
TVC News, first with breaking news.
Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. I hope you had a great weekend. Okay, now on to business directly then. And we look over at River State, where it is thought that an imminent constitutional crisis is in the making. Our guest this morning is going to be constitutional lawyer, Dr. Tunji Abayomi, but that in due time. You know the situation in River State, among other things. It has an assembly, three honorable members of the House of Assembly for which it is working. And so we look to see how that is going to work. And you know, all of this is coming from a court ruling that all those who defected from PDP to APC have lost their seats. And so I beg your pardon. Yes, all members who defected have lost their seats, and so in effect they are like unknown to the law as appropriate members of the House of Assembly. We have a report. Let's show this report, then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. I'm sure a lot of people have their say on this particular issue in River State.
Council chairmen in River State say they have been starved of statutory funds since April, and in one case, March 2024. They allege that there has been no meeting of the Joint Account Allocation Committee for the purpose of disbursement. They described as unconstitutional and promised to resist any attempt to bypass democratically elected leadership to release allocations for local government administration.
It is worrisome that the governor of River State, who took the oath of office and swore to uphold the law and constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, will stoop so low as to resort to such undemocratic and unconstitutional means to strangulate the third tier of government with a view to achieving personal political ends and without minding the dire consequences which his action portends not only for the system of local government administration in River State, but also for the welfare of the local government employees.
This controversy over money is seen as a major twist in the battle for the grassroots political structure of River State. The tenure of the 23 local government chairmen elapses in June 2024, but they are not making plans to vacate office when that time comes. They are hanging on to an amendment of the local government law by the state's legislature, which elongated their tenure by 6 months if elections are not conducted.
We do not even know how much comes from the federation account. It's as bad as that. But the ecological fund too that has been since been released has not been given to us. Then the 10% IGR that ought to come to the local government are not also coming. So even the funds from Mr. President do not come to the state, to the local governments. So it's unfortunate that we have arrived at this point in time in Rivers.
This is an invitation to anarchy. We as local government chairmen, we are going to remain in office because the law says so. The recently amended law, local government law, that creates and provides for tenure and functioning of local governments in Rivers State, as empowered by the Constitution, has given us an additional 6 months period, and we will remain in the office until that period expires.
The local government chairman also joined the All Progressives Congress in calling on the House of Assembly to take urgent steps to remedy the situation.
Okay, well, that's one aspect of the story. But as I was saying before we took that, the governor, Prince Siminalayi, Fubura, has said that there is no constitutional crisis as far as he's concerned. Those members that defected are simply not legislators anymore, and I think he's leaning on a previous Supreme Court judgment to say as much. But we'll continue from there. Let me tell good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Uncle Yori, what is happening in Rivers is a show of shame. I'm really disappointed by Ijaw elders who are fueling this crisis for selfish reasons. They were not there when Wike brought Fubara to government without any care of where he comes from. It is only when he came as governor that they now remember that he's their son. And they are doing everything possible to make sure the governance in that is truncated. I want to suggest to Mr. President, he should call another stakeholders meeting, including the Ijaw elders and other leaders in Rivers, and give them a short time to see how they will fare in a new arrangement. If they fail, there should be no extension. The National Assembly should send a team of lawmakers to go there and be making laws. And if that doesn't work, then he should declare a state of emergency in Rivers State. That's the only way things can work in that state now. If nobody is saying, everybody is saying, I no go agree, the country cannot go down because of two people. The way and manner the elders in that state are behaving is really disappointing. When you see, when something goes wrong in a community, people go to elders reconciliation. But look at these elders. They are even part and parcel of the conflict. They've all taken sides. How do you resolve a dispute when those that you should look up to have already taken sides without weighing things with balance? I'm really disappointed.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much, Mr. George, for calling in. It is quite a complicated, perhaps even a delicate affair, because the governor is saying that, and quoting him in the news, I have accepted the peace accord, well, as he put it, to, quote unquote, give them a soft landing. And that's the truth. But there is nothing in the peace accord that is a constitutional issue. It is a political solution to a problem. That's the way the governor is looking at it. And as you were just saying there, Mr. George, it does look like, if we're not careful, we could be heading for a constitutional crisis, which the governor says he doesn't seem to see anything of at all. Meanwhile, it is governance that is suffering here. And meanwhile, the main gladiators are treating this as something of a chess game. Who drew first blood, where are we now? Fubura has maintained that he acted like the big brother in the crisis. Quite frankly, there are those who would say that it's something almost of a mess, the way we are now. But the governor has noted that each time he came for meetings that were supposed to be peace meetings, there will be something to scuttle it. So it might well be that, just as you have suggested, Mr. George, there has to be an alternative approach, perhaps, because you said that you had a lot of hope with the Ijaw elders, but now that it is going the way it is going, where exactly are we? But how much more, perhaps the question is, how much more can the president do? How much more can Mr. President do? Can Mr. President come into this in a more heavy-handed sort of a way? Is that going to be acceptable? These are the kind of things. But let's hear it from Frank, who has called in from Rivers, I believe. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Can you hear us, Frank? Well,
are you with me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. What I want to say, the president don't need to do too much for now, because if he continue to wade into the crisis as it stands, people will actually assume that and not really assuming, conclude that he is hiding the FCT minister. Reasons being that the first agreement that they reached actually supports the intentions of the FCT minister. So, which is against the majority of the Rivers people, that the FCT minister should allow governance to continue in Rivers State unimpeded, as also was done to him. Nobody, as we can always say, has ever come to governance without aid from anywhere coming to him or her. As it stands, the judge elders, as that man alluded, were not causing crisis and are not doing so. What they are doing is, please, FCT minister, allow space for this young man to do his constitutional duties for governance to continue in Rivers. And having seen the whole issue, read the black and white booklets that came forth from the causes of this issue, the elders will not come on air and begin to tell you, see what happened, who is at fault, who is at fault. What they say is that, please allow this young man to continue governance. We wouldn't agree with anybody that is not staying in the shores of River State to begin to pass judgments or calling for state of emergency. We will believe that they are the enemies of River State.
Okay.
As it stands, we want to say that the governor is doing his best to allow peace to reign because it's not causing any crisis. He is trying to self-and do his duties. How do you have persons, commissioners in your cabinet who are working against you? How will you be able to deliver? Is he not using the IGRO to do the jobs that are there in the budget as stated? If there is any constitutional move or any move that's against our constitution that our governor is taking, let everybody bring it to the fore. If not, all those ones agreement reached, paper reached with the SC minister by this governor and this governor, all those things are not what we should look at. What we should look at, this man, are you doing the right thing? So I want to advise the president, please, do not bother yourself too much for now.
Okay.
We here are happy with the performance of the governor. He is doing well. The only thing we will tell him is, please, do not respond to any calls for anarchy from anybody, whether the people that are supporting this, even though last month, one of the supporters said they will come for the governor. The person that responded before me now heard that. What did he say? What did they say outside? So what we are saying is that our governor shouldn't respond to such calls. He should focus on governance and allow peace to reign. Do his due diligence and let the president just watch and give a guide. But he shouldn't broker for now any of further peace. Because whatever he will say, I believe definitely will be in the support of the FCT minister, which was the case of the last peace accord that was broken by both of them. This is our stand. And we pray that God shall allow peace to continue to reign. As it's raining now, nobody's fighting. Let governance continue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Frank. And well, therein lies the challenge. Matters have even gotten as far as, some people calling for the impeachment of the governor, a call that is being vehemently rebuked and resisted by the PDP in River State. But all of this is just pointing to the fact that governance is suffering at the moment. Where we go back to those that might see it. In fact, my last caller, he just went in that direction that, look, people who are not from rivers should just, hands off, as it were. But all men of goodwill can't hands off if we see that the situation is not really moving forward. We seem to be going around in circles, but dangerous, very, very dangerous circles. And what would happen? There are a number of options on the table. I think it was Mr. George, the first caller, who had said that, look, the processes could be put in motion, and if there is not going to be any progress whatsoever, then the National Assembly knows what to do and how the processes are, that they could move in, declare a state of emergency. But no doubt everybody is hoping that it doesn't get to that extent. But when people seem to be at loggerheads, the governor has said that for the avoidance of doubt, he wants it to be seen that he does not recognize those 27 lawmakers that have decamped and, as a result, have lost their seat. I don't know how that happened. Perhaps they didn't take a look at the law as it was at the time. I just don't know how that happened. But now we are hearing that, according to the law, there are precedents. There is a precedent in this case that those 27 lawmakers have lost their seat. I think that is that what lawyers call settled law, that one is settled law. So we have how many now? We have how many members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State? And that seems to be where the crisis is now coming from. Governor Fubara, for his part, is saying that he's just not backing down. And the impression is being taken by some, perhaps, that all of this is to the satisfaction of Abuja, by which I mean the leader of the ruling party, of course, is Mr. President. And, so there are those who are saying that, could it be that the president is taking sides? There will be men of goodwill that will know that, no, President Tinubu is not like that. But you see, this is an emotive, if not emotional, issue. And those who are in River State, that's the way they are looking at it. In fact, they are looking at it in a different sort of a way from people who are, farther away from the situation, as we were. So only the Lord knows how, and it needs to, we need to find a resolution very, very soon. I think that's the part of it that is not in any contention at all. Governance is at a standstill. Too many things have been happening in River State. None of them have been progressive. And the people of River State are probably tired of this for now because governance is suffering. Hello, Kesandu. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and how are you doing? Happy New Week.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in. Happy New Week. Go ahead, please.
Uncle Yori, you see, they say that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. It is unfortunate what is happening in River State, and every right-thinking Nigerian, every true Nigerian can actually see to a fact of what is actually transpiring in River State. You see, when the former governor, during the campaign, he said a whole lot of things. And these things, unfortunately, are playing out now. See, there can only be one governor in River State. That is just the truth. I am not from Rivers, but we've seen the former governor, who is the FCT minister, say it severally, that if you try to jettison the powers of the governor, do it at your own peril. He made some of those comments, and there are videos, evidences to show that. The question is, why won't you allow, even if you met this young man, why won't you allow him be the governor? Why won't you allow him give the people good governance that you saw and you felt that he was competent and credible to deliver to the Rivers people? So what happened now? And constitutionally, all these men that actually jumped the party from this place to this place, it is a constitutional matter. You have lost your seat, sir. There is no two ways about it. You are going to go for a rerun. INEC is going to conduct a first election there. So I am saying that everybody, stakeholders from River State and across the country, the presidency should come. They should tell the FCT minister to leave the young man alone to govern his state in peace. Nobody should talk about state of emergency, because the truth about it is that if Mr. President says, FCT minister, please, I don't want your interference in that state, you're no longer the governor, he is going to remove his hand. So this is just the only panacea to this quagmire. So the Rivers people will face, Fubara will face governance, and Rivers people will be happy. This thing is uncalled for. They are spending taxpayers' money in this whole balloon that is happening there, and it's unfortunate. Nobody is more.
Good morning to you. Thank you very much for calling in. Just what we are saying, it's a delicate one because there is a political aspect to it. And in fact, I think the governor has been speaking about a political solution. There is a political aspect to it, but then we're sort of moving towards a constitutional, crisis a notion that the governor rejects, that there is nothing constitutional here. In fact, it depends on how you want to interpret his statement that it's a political thing. Perhaps that is leaning more in the direction of former Governor Wike of Port Harcourt, who is now the FCT minister, is getting undue, shall we say, support. But again, I imagine that for the presidency, for the president, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. The president was expected to come in, and he has done so. But now, what do we have? Now people are blaming him for it. Sunny in the UK, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to Nigeria.
Yes.
I think the issue in Rivers State is a very, very complex one. And I think by its nature, that's politics itself. And like one of the callers said, I personally do not think the president needs to come in at this point.
Okay.
Usually when there are political issues, you want to let the actors all express themselves. And once they finish expressing themselves, there will be settlement at the end of the day. However, that's on political side, because consciousness needs to be there. This is a political matter. But of course, it also has some legal issues attached to it. And as it stands in our country, yes, there is the part of the Constitution, there is part of the law. Once you have pronounced that you are no longer a member of House of Assembly, then you should automatically lose your seat. But point of note, you see, our law is not written that way. I know people will be expecting that INEC should immediately go and conduct election. No. If you are INEC, it will look like you are taking side. There is a provision of the law that says that, unless parties actually break up, like now you are APC and maybe APC decided to break up at the national level, then you've won election at the APC level, then the other party that broke up from it, then you choose to be part of that. That is only part of the provision that the law allows you to keep going on. But the law does not say categorically that once you've jumped ship to another party, the INEC should go and conduct election. So, and that is where the proclamation from a court is required. But it's not just by order. There are political parties in Nigeria, we're one of those parties in Nigeria who have taken this case already to the court of law. And what is expected, what I would expect the governor to do, is not to interfere in the in the legal process of things, rather than saying things like, I don't recognize some lawmakers. It's not for him to recognize them. It's the law that recognizes these lawmakers. So I think the political angle is the key issue, but I know definitely that there will be a lot going on at the background.
Mm-hmm.
But we should also tell all of us in Nigeria to remain calm and keep hoping that the actors will solve the problem. There is no amount of talk people can do. When it comes to political issues, people will always have their positions. But they will come to that friction, they will come to that point. Everybody will now okay, let's get this going.
Right.
I know it sounds trivial the way I'm talking about it. But in reality, even if you go to war, at the end of the day, people are still going to come to table and discuss how to end the war.
Indeed.
And that's just it. But most times, if people don't express themselves and feel like, I don't want to be cheated this way, or maybe there are blind spots in whatever they have discussed before. I think these are the key areas. But
Okay.
the case are in court, we should tell the
Indeed.
governor to
I hear you.
refrain from...
All right, then. Okay, thank you very much, Sonny Adenuga, for calling in from the UK there. Okay, at this stage, let's take a break. We'll be right back, and we'll be joined by Dr. Tunji Abayomi, constitutional lawyer, as we continue airing this particular subject matter. Stay with us, please.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
Okay, welcome back. And as I said, Dr. Tunji Abayomi is with us now. Dr. Abayomi, needless to say, is a constitutional lawyer, well known. Thank you very much, Dr. Abayomi, for coming on. Indeed. So we've been talking about this matter. Are we heading straight for a constitutional crisis the way it is?
Yeah,
that's what it's looking like.
Yeah, we are actually in a constitutional crisis.
We already are in one, the way it is.
We are already in a constitutional crisis. But
what are the implications of that if remedial action cannot be adopted?
If the what?
If remedial action cannot be taken.
There's no problem with remedial action. The point is that if we look at Section 6.6 of the Constitution, issues of this should be taken to court, and the court will provide them solution. I think there are different contours that obviously are concerning. First and foremost, the governor is elected by the people. The local government chairmen are elected. The House of Assembly members are elected. And there's a conflict largely between all the elected personalities. For example, we have a situation now where the governor submits his budget to just a few members of the House of Assembly. That's obviously unconstitutional.
Okay.
The budget can only be passed by, I think it's even 2/3.
Yes.
I don't know, I think. But certainly not less than the majority. Now, this issue of they have changed their party to another party, there's no automatic execution by the governor. You cannot say that because they have changed their party, therefore they stand disqualified from presiding. For example, assuming you have a governor who does not mind the change of party, then what happens? And he says, look, it doesn't bother me as long as they do their job. They can say, as long as they haven't been declared by the court,
okay,
they remain in office.
But what's the deal then when some are referring to this having been a matter before the Supreme Court in the past, and that they have ruled that if you jump ship like that, you indeed lose your entitlement?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, for example...
Is that not what the governor is citing as a precedent?
That's the position of the law. But you still have to apply the law to the situation.
Okay.
So now, in the present situation, like I said, assuming now that Governor Fubara, what's his name?
Yes, Siminalayi Fubara.
Fubara, assuming now that he does not care, it doesn't bother him. And he says, look, they can join. Let us, for example, as an example, he himself intends to join APC in future for purposes of argument, creating a legal myth. Assuming that he intends to join APC in future, and it doesn't bother him that the members of the House of Assembly have decided to go into APC. And he even likes it because there is sort of a precursor for his joining. What would happen?
So what you're implying with this is that it's not an automatic
disqualification. It is
Disqualification.
not an automatic
It isn't?
disqualification.
But you can't go higher than the Supreme Court, and that's what
Yes.
some people are leaning on that. The Supreme Court has so pronounced. So
Yes.
I still have to activate it.
Yes, it is not an automatic disqualification. For example, Supreme
And somebody,
Court
sorry,
makes-
sir, somebody said that, yes, it was Sonny who called in from the UK, that it is not for the governor to so pronounce, but for the law to so pronounce.
Yes,
And I
that
didn't
is
quite
it.
understand
That's the point. For example, Supreme Court has said, I think when we were handling the electoral election petition, I made it clear that in 1983, in the case of Wazir Ibrahim against Shagari, Supreme Court had decided at that time that 2/3 of the states and Federal Capital Territory makes Federal Capital Territory just a mere state, that there's no distinction. That was in 1983. But the issue came up again in just last year, you know. So the point is that the mere fact that the Supreme Court has made the pronouncement does not create automatic application to situation. You still have to, for who then now is the person injured? The person that is injured must still go to court and seek for remedy to his injury. In other words, there must be some kind of pronouncement to give benefit to a person who is injured. If nobody is injured, for example, by that decision, what happens? So the matter is quite clear. You still have to go to court. If the governor is of the view that they cannot continue to legislate because of this, because they have changed their party, or PDP is of the view that they cannot continue, they go to court. There will be a pronouncement. What is it that will be binding and controlling now? You must have some kind of decision of court in order to effect that.
So thank you very much for that clarification, Dr. Abayomi, because what you say now aligns with what Sonny Adenuga, who had called in, had said, that a lot of people are saying that it's very much like it's biblical. You can't begin to adjust the Bible or the law. The Supreme Court itself has said that in such a situation, you lose your seat. So if you don't have a seat, it seems to be the way Governor Fubura is going about it, then you have no business in that place.
But when it says you lose your seat, that's a pronouncement of law. But to now say you lose your seat, you must be a party in an action in court. And then there must be a decision. The question is that the decision of that Supreme Court, will it be binding on them when they were not parties to that decision in the Supreme Court? Okay. You cannot apply a decision to a non-party. You can only apply it to a party, because you have to be a party in court to be bound by the decision of court. So you have to go to court, make them parties to that action, and then there will be a decision which will be binding on them as parties to the new action.
So you have to go and erect your own matter.
You have to,
and say that it is like this, and therefore you are claiming this,
Precisely.
and then you will be granted it.
And then you
if
can
that
now
is the way
apply
they see
the
it.
decision of the Supreme Court. And who can apply the decision of the Supreme Court? It's only the court of law. There's no provision for self-execution. You know, until there's a pronouncement that is binding on parties, you cannot execute that pronouncement you can only execute the pronouncement of court to parties before the court. You know, you cannot execute the pronouncement of court to a non-party. I'm not a party. Assuming that I'm a legislative member of Rivers State House of Assembly, and now there is the decision of the Supreme Court, assuming that I'm a member of the Legislative House of the House of Assembly, how do you apply that to me? I wasn't a party to that action. So it has no application.
And therein lies the constitutional crisis that we are in right now. Tony in Jos, good morning to you, sir. Are you still there? Tony in Jos. Tony in Jos. You wanted to join the conversation?
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead, Tony.
Good morning to your guests.
Thank you. Good morning.
Tony from Jos.
Go ahead, please.
Either you call me Tony or you call me Bob. All the same. It's my name. Well, let me first of all greet your guest over there, who is a constitutional lawyer.
Yes, thank you.
And he's a professional to the issue at stake, which is a constitutional problem we have. So I think he should be able to address it, and Nigeria should be able to listen to him. As he is a constitutional lawyer. You understand me? That makes him different. He's a professional in constitution. So what I'm trying to, probably I will ask him a question or I'll put up a question.
Yes.
When they say defect or cross or whatever the language they use it, because English is not much our language here in Nigeria. That's why we are having problems. When they say defect or when you are in an office, you are in an office, just as like office now, you make a pronouncement, I've resigned. Probably you make a pronouncement, I've resigned. Is it acceptable by law? It should be a procedure. If you want to defect or you want to resign from one party to the other, there must be an official documentation.
Tony, just as
there must be official documentation.
Yes, Doctor, just as Dr. Abayomi was explaining.
Where you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The principle of the way you have applied that example, the principle of resignation is one thing. Does it concern the people who are now, invoking it? So Dr. Abayomi has explained that, look, he, in his own considered opinion, that Supreme Court pronouncement is good. It's standing in that place. But has anybody activated it in relation to the case on hand?
Of course.
You have to go to court. You can't sit down in your sitting room and say that it happened before.
Let me give you a simple example.
Sure.
Assuming you now go to court, I said, I'm a member of the House of Assembly of Rivers State. You now took an action against me on this ground. And I changed my mind that I'm no longer going to the party.
Okay.
That I'm going to stay in my old party. I'm no longer defecting. I'm no longer going.
Okay.
I could do that. And then there would be the applicability of that position of the Supreme Court will no longer be relevant to me. Because I'm back to my party.
Exactly, which you can do.
Yes, which I can do. And my party accepts me back.
Yes.
And says, oh, stay in your office. So you have to take the step against those people that are deemed to be, infringing the constitutional provision. And the court must not pronounce that, yes, they have in fact infringed the constitutional provision based on this. So, and then the other issue is that it is even possible that the application of that constitutional provision is different.
Okay.
Because of a different scenario. So that's why they have to go to court.
For the court to determine.
Yes, to determine that.
The value of their attitude.
Exactly. It's not just automatic that you say, oh, they have defected, therefore,
Well, that's certainly something that a lot of people who are not necessarily lawyers, maybe lawyers always knew this, but again, for the majority of our viewers who are just regular citizens, this will sort of shine some light on it. Do I hear... Olu is in Akure. Good morning to you, Olu.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go right ahead quickly, please.
How are you, sir?
Thank you very much for calling in.
I just want to chip in one or two things, sir.
Please.
This constitutional, this thing, what is the River State? I think the federal government should hand off his hand from this unconstitutional something. One, we outside River State, we know what really happened when the president was in Lagos. There was no opposition at all in Lagos. I think the president should hand up from River State and let everything be okay. Let them rule, let the governor rule by Constitution.
Olu, let me just let me find out something from you. Where do you see the president's hand in the whole river affair?
God bless you. Those commissioners that resigned, most of them have been appointed by the federal government. Majority of them has been appointed by the federal government.
Well,
people are now talking.
Well, we're talking about the legislators. The legislators that decamped and went over to PDP that has led to this crisis. That's what we're talking about. So not commissioners.
The constitutional lawyers, some of the constitutional lawyers have said, we know that it's only court that can pronounce that those people are deserved. But some of the constitutional lawyers have said, go to court, and I think the case is in the court now. Let every party just be silent.
Okay. It's just that I wanted to clarify, when you brought the president into the matter, all the president has done was to come in, to sort of say, let's look for peace. Is there a way? And both parties were happy with that.
He came in, and what the agreement that they signed, before only Wiki, not the governor.
All right. Okay. I get what you're saying. This is the way he's seeing it. And it's like is the president being dragged into this, or in your considered opinion, is the president in this already? Apart from the fact that, yes, former governor has been appointed by the president as the minister of the Federal Capital Territory.
I don't think it is normal that any president will want to enhance peace in any of the states.
Exactly.
A president is a president of PDP states, APC states, Labour states.
Exactly.
A president is a president of all citizens of Nigeria.
He would want peace to reign.
And don't forget that government is considered for peace, order, and good government. That's his prerogative as a president. And he cannot, for example, wait. I mean, if there's fire in a PDP state, do you expect the president to... And it's a political fire of some kind. And I think it's normal and very regular for the president to intervene to see if we can find solution to the problem in Rivers State. Here again, we are talking about the principal source of the crisis is personal. The conflict between a former governor and the present governor, who was made governor by the former governor.
Yes. Yes.
That's really the issue. You see, at the end of it all...
And who he now considers disloyal to him.
This is it. And it
whatever
is
that means.
Yeah, whatever it means. Here again is part of the neurosis of our system, because the problem of godfatherism, where, for example, the system never works. You see, America says that our government may be a government of law and not of men. They try to create institutions and systems that have integrity instead of systems that are controlled by personalities. In our country, individuals have more power than systems and, institutions. That's part of the fundamental problem.
Which is an unfortunate state of affairs.
It's an unfortunate state. This is where we are. If systems work, a governor will not erect another governor. Another governor will be elected by the legal process. This is the situation we have in our country.
Okay. Let me bring on Mr. Gbadebo in Abeokuta. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. I said Otumba Adebo, not Mr. Gbadebo.
Otumba Adebo. Sorry about that. Good morning, Otumba Adebo.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning to your guest.
Otumba, you have seen Mr. Otumba. Otumba, Mr. It's nice to talk to you.
The president, they've gone to court in Rivers State and taken an injunction restraining those people who are defected from parading themselves as legislators. What else again?
Say that again.
Sorry?
Yeah. What was the point you just made? You said they are in court already.
That there's an injunction.
I said they have gone to court. Not in court. Not that they have gone to court. They have already gone to court and got an injunction restraining those that are affected from parading themselves as legislators.
Okay.
So once again.
Okay.
But that's only temporary.
Okay. I get what Debo is saying in there. Is, okay, you heard him and you commented.
I heard it, but the injunction is just temporary. There's no final decision on the issue.
There can't be a perpetual injunction.
No, perpetual will only come up at the final decision.
Okay.
That's why it's perpetual.
Okay.
At the end of when the substantive cases, if you have for interlocutory, that's before the final decision. That's probably what they have. I don't think the final decision has been taken.
Not yet.
The other issue is that, I mean, the court obviously will have to look into this because when you say a man, for example, has defected, you still have to present the evidence before the court can make a pronouncement and apply the Supreme Court's decision that, look, in light of what is before me, Supreme Court's decision is binding on this evidentiary situation. So that's why you have to go to court.
And, well, yes, so that is what the Otumpa was just saying has happened. And as far as he's concerned, what is left of the conversation? The injunction was by the PDP members?
I don't know about the injunction. That's what he told us. Well, I'm not familiar with that presently, so we'll see where we are.
Okay. Well, we're talking about Port Harcourt now, and I don't know, we're going to have to move over there to join them live. I think they have a different event. Governor Siminalayi, is commissioning a road over there. He's the incumbent governor. So we're going to have, we'll leave his troubles for the moment and thank Dr. Tunji Abayomi, a constitutional lawyer who came on to sort of shine some light on this. So do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition of the program. And thank you very much, Dr. Abayomi, for coming on. So away from politics, away from law, onto Governor Siminalayi Fubura commissioning roads in River State.
National Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Samsam Jaja, former Deputy National Chairman of...
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come.
Albert Chinua Achebe was born November 16, 1930 in Ogidi, Nigeria. He went to Government College in Umuahia, Nigeria. In 1948, Achebe won a scholarship to the University of Ibadan to study medicine, but after a year, he changed his major to writing. After graduation in 1953, he became a script writer for the Nigerian Broadcasting Service, NBS, eventually becoming the head programmer for the discussion series. In 1956, he visited London for the first time to take a training course with the BBC. On returning, he moved to Enugu and edited and produced stories for the NBS. Achebe was unhappy with books about Africa written by British authors such as Joseph Conrad and John Buchan because he felt the descriptions of African people were inaccurate and insulting. In his spare time, he worked on Things Fall Apart, The novel was published in 1958. The book won immediate international recognition and also became the basis for a play. His second book, No Longer at Ease, published in 1960, is set in the last decade before Nigeria achieved independence. In 1961, Chinua Achebe met and married Christiana Chinwe Okoli, and they eventually had 4 children. The third book in the African trilogy, Arrow of God, was published in 1964. Achebe published his fourth novel, A Man of the People, in 1966. The novel tells the story of the widespread corruption of Nigerian politicians and ends in a military coup. During the Biafra conflict,